permanent and an alternate 1 and an alternate 2.
The alternate now is right applying to those. Doing alternate. Then you match it.
She's an alternate now, but she's changed the figure alternate as well. So, I'm going to be up there. She's an alternate now, but she is putting the application in for the appointment.
Right, good. That's the other point.
Okay, permanent, okay.
Okay, so we'll take these up separately, right? So let's take care of that one. Okay, so that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any public comment? Okay, if there's no further discussion from the board, we'll vote. So it's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So now we need to designate alternate 1, alternate 2. Can we get a drum roll?
What's the difference between alternate 1 and alternate 2?
Well, if there's somebody's unable to be on the board, then the alternate 1 would be called first to fill that. And then the alternate, or if there's 2 spots, then they both would be, but if there's 1, then alternate 1 would be called first and alternate 2 second.
So, Mr. Chairman, given the one applicant, Julie Brown, stating her experience and work within the mortgage industry, and I've known her for many years, and I know she's very involved in the field, where Mr. Johnson was indicated just a homeowner and has been involved in the process, I would move that we make Julie Brown as alternate 1.
Thank you. It's been moved. Very soft second. I think
Good word.
second. Yeah. Okay. Is there any public comment? All right. If there's no further discussion from the board, we have a first and a soft second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Thank you.
And then we've got the final alternate.
Okay. Oh, so that's, you do it.
Right.
3 times. Okay. So that leaves Larry Johnson to be alternate 2.
I'll make that motion.
Very.
It was stronger there.
All right.
I stand
Any public comment? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right. Thanks, Richard. Thank you. Thanks, Larry. And thank you to the Cindy and Julie as well. All right. F2.
Mr. Chairman, this is a planning service area agency, treatment area agency on aging, and we are required to have an advisory council, commonly serve on the executive board, and the advisory council, we actually have a couple of vacancies that people have served for quite a length of time, so this team that Ken Moore has applied, and I would move that we appoint her to fill the vacancies as created by our chairman.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, let's take up H1.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the board has received an offer from Can We Help to donate a printer copier. I've attached in your packet the email correspondence between myself and Can We Help. We're not exactly sure by the nature of the email who Can We Help is, if that matters to the board. I believe that Ms. Spencer is here to speak on behalf of Can We Help, and I also believe that what Can We Help is offering is somewhat of a conditional gift of a copier to be used in this boardroom by the Board of Supervisors. I was, and by the way, you've noticed that I started using the screen with some of the agenda items. Hopefully that's not distracting during the meeting.
That's good.
It's not intended to be, but I just Googled the copier that is intended to be donated. I believe Ms. Spencer probably wants to address it. In terms of operating a copier inside the boardroom, I'm not in favor of that. I think it would be disruptive. I wouldn't object to something out in the hallway, although we do have a copier on that side of the room and on that side.
Well, there's one right in there, that room is open.
The questions I would have regarding this copier, and don't view me as looking a gift horse in the mouth, but this gift would probably come along with the requirement to maintain this, and the ink cartridges for these lower level copiers can be pretty expensive by the page. So with that, I think I'll let Ms. Spencer make her offer.
Well, I didn't purchase these. Can We Help was given these copiers by one of our members. And I don't know, for some reason I didn't get copies of this. I don't know whether you want it. I don't have one. Normally I get a whole bunch of them to hand out, but I don't. It's just the offer. If we had the copy there, I would make you some copies.
Well,
but
why don't you use the copier right over there?
it's 2 paragraphs. I can send it to you. I mean, I can read it, or we can stop and make copies. I can even tell you what it is. These copiers, these 4500s, were donated by one of our members, and we'd like to donate. It's a very small copier, very quiet copier, and it has the capability of hooking up to your iPods if you have the app. That's not the intent of the gift. It's to comply with Brown Act Section 54957.5. The copier is less than 10 pounds. We actually, for the board, we didn't give it to the one-stops, but we actually have a bag. It's 17 inches by 13 inches by 5 inches tall, and it really makes copies fast and quiet. So we could even supply a small table right here. You could even fit in that corner on a little table. We would supply the table. We would even supply the ink cartridges. Just give me a couple of days and you need it. I've been told one cartridge, number 61, lasts almost 6 or 7 months. It's just, it's a very efficient little copier. We have one out at the One Stop in Westwood, and I was going to give Mr. Albaugh one to take for me up to the One Stop in his district, but of course he's here today, so I don't mind driving it up there. Like I said, if the board members, I know you have a wireless capability and you have an iPad. If you have the app to download, if you bring in a copy and you haven't made copies but it's passed around, we're entitled to get a copy of that. It's just, like I said, Brown Act Section 54957.5 states immediate access to what you are given. So it's very quiet, fast. You could do 10 copies in less than a minute. And the wireless part of it's up to you if you want to take advantage of it. But if you do, the public can access things too. So if somebody has a document on their phone that they forgot to bring with them, and they can download it immediately to the copier and have that app, it can be done. But the whole purpose of donating this copier, according to the gesture made by one of our members, is to have access to documents that you don't provide copies for that are presented to the board. So there's no all you have to do is sign for it. There's no other connection. And I think I would be authorized to approve paying for the cartridges. It's a number 61, and I can get them overnighted through HP. It's not a big deal. So, but like I said, we've had people use this, and they last 6 to 8 months, those little printers. So they're just very efficient. And if you approve it, if you don't approve it, it goes to her lawn. But I think you need to set aside your animosity towards me and consider that this is a good addition to these board meetings. And if you never use it, then we never have to buy you a cartridge. But it's there, and it's going to be available for Susan to make you copies within seconds. So that was all.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of points to that, maybe while Ms. Spencer is there. From an administrative standpoint, I don't want to be the police of a copier, and this room is used for a lot of other meetings other than just Board of Supervisors meetings. I'm not sure, planning commission, solid waste, et cetera, et cetera. Don't know if they would use the copy or not, but the email was for the board's use. Is that correct? It's
for the board meetings, but because we now have this nice bag to put it in, we can have somebody bring it first thing before your meeting starts, set it up for you before you go into closed session, and then take it back. It's not something that has to stay here. We have people that can come and bring it. And we don't even have to set it up, but we're kind of bending over backwards to comply with the Brown Act and make it convenient for the public, which isn't happening right now. We don't get copies of the stuff that's passed between you. We don't, and don't give me that look, because we don't.
I'm wondering what documents you're talking about. I was going to ask Richard which documents are not available to the public.
I don't accept the premise that we're in violation of the Brown Act.
No, I'm not saying in order to comply with the immediate distribution of documents that are presented at a public meeting, she can look up the Brown Act.
It's Government Code Section 5495 or 5495.7.5, and requires public records distributed at the board meeting that are provided to the board members less than 72 hours before the meeting.
Read C.
Are required to be allowed to be inspected at the clerk's office following the meeting.
Read C.
While you're looking at C, I'd just like to make a comment. From my point of view, the relationship between Can We Help and the board is it's a kind of an aggressive one of attack always from Can We Help, with accusations of the board being useless, deceitful, untruthful, pathetic, and the list goes on and on. And I just think it's, if we need a copy machine or anything to be in compliance, I mean, we have the wherewithal, and we should be supplying that ourselves. And also, I'm sure...
That's exactly what I thought you would say.
But the main reason is, should you come up here and need support of the board or my vote on something, I'd hate to violate the Brown Act because you donated a gift and not be able to support you.
It's not coming from me,
You're
Mr.
you're
Wozniak.
part of the Can We Help. You're actually the
It's
face
been
of Can We
donated
Help.
by
What,
one member.
and Mr. Chairman, one of
So that's
my questions is, who is the donation coming from? Can we help from what we can ascertain in the website? I've never seen any individuals that will claim to be associated with it, other than Ms. Spencer.
And that's their choice.
And so we don't know who the gift is coming from, so it's hard to determine for a supervisor if there is a conflict, if you don't know who the gift is coming from.
It was donated to Can We Help.
Right, and not knowing who donated to Can We Help and who Can We Help is makes it impossible for
Well,
a
I can tell you it
supervisor.
didn't come from me, if that's any consolation. So it's meant as a gesture of goodwill. And and it accomplishes a lot of things.
Okay, Supervisor
Well,
Chapman.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I would be opposed to having a copy machine in the boardroom during the board session, whether it's provided by an outside source or provided by the council. Because I think, I have a business in which I do a fair amount of copying, and the copy machines, I even have some of these wireless, I've actually put them in my house, that, sometimes work with the phones and the iPads, and sometimes they don't. They can be somewhat temperamental. Wireless technology isn't as all it's cracked up to be, but they're HP units, and so and they are relatively quiet, but they still cause a break in the discussion. My recommendation is if the public feels that they're being disserved by not having something in the room, maybe there could be a plug found out there in the foyer lobby area there where the 4-H and everybody has there's a table out there that they could come and set it up and have it available for them if they want to. The staff has already demonstrated there's a copy machine right across the hallway. While the conversation went on, the letter that Mrs. Spencer only brought one, and she talks about how oftentimes people make presentations to the board and there's not copies available. She demonstrated how that happened this morning by coming in with just one copy with her presentation, knowing full well that
I'm given these an hour before the meeting.
Well, no, I'm just the point being made is it was a good demonstration, and the way staff handled it is that they took it, despite the fact that she said it wasn't necessary, walked across, got the copies made, and had them back in our hands beforehand. But as far as the chairman's remarks concerning, I think the relationship between the board and Can We Help is benign. I do not know of any board member on the board or the county devoting a website vilifying Can We Help as an organization. They exist. In the past, I've actually even contributed money to some of Mrs. Spencer's activities when she had her animal rescue thing, and did so with no malice or forethought. It was designed to help the public interest. The fact that Can We Help maintains a website that is devoted to vilifying the board and vilifying individual members of the board and members of the county family, that's her problem, that's her business, has nothing to do with the board, and does not subject itself to these particular deliberations. As far as I'm concerned, it's a benign question. I personally would not be in favor of having a copy machine stationed in the boardroom where we would be interrupting the board's deliberations. If there's copies that need to be made, staff has the ability to step out and get the copies made and bring them back. And so any sort of compliance with the Brown Act is easily accomplished that way. And I think the board should say, thank you, Mrs. Spencer. It sounds like Hurlong could probably use an extra copy machine, so that might be the appropriate place for them to send their donations to the folks down there. And I would be not in favor of accepting this particular donation.
And I respect your opinion. However, the next time, I can assure you, the next time I ask or any member of the public ask for a copy of something that's been handed out publicly to any of you, and you don't stop and make a copy, there will be a Brown Act complaint filed each and every time.
The county administration, if you could explore, maybe if there's a plug is available out there in the lobby area, they can come and set up their copy machine and have it available. And it's something that they do on their own, and it's easy for them to set
That
up
wasn't
and
the
do it.
intent, Mr. After today, the gesture of goodwill will be gone, and there are a lot of, I know Melody, I was talking, she's got one of these little copies. I was hoping she would still be here because she would tell you how efficient and how quiet it is. But I understand. It was hard for me to present this because of personally the animosity towards me, myself. The website is the website.
Okay, we're gonna move on now.
In 14
There's not the support of the board for this, so we got still a lot of stuff, so.
in 14 years, we've never been sued for defamation or slander.
I would like to clarify the section C of 54957.5 because that was brought up. Well, it's very short, I'll read it. Writings that are public records under subdivision A, which would be ones that were provided, and that are distributed during a public meeting shall be made available for public inspection at the meeting if prepared by the local agency or member of the local agency or member of legislative body, or after the meeting if prepared by some other person. These writings shall be made available in appropriate alternative formats upon request by a person with a disability, etc. So what I read that to mean is that if one of you or a part of the agency present a document, then that needs to be made public immediately. Now, if someone comes to the podium from the public and presents you with something, that does not need to be made public immediately.
And I have many times sent emails to people with copies of documents that were presented during the meeting.
So just for clarification.
So that practice does it go on? I mean, documents just distributed and not being available to the public?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, example of a document that's distributed is some of the handouts that Camille has provided today. We are required under the government code, and that's why Susan gets copies, so that they can be viewed by any member of the public in the clerk's office following the meeting.
After the meeting.
Okay, I think if you really want to help, you could investigate the facts before you come here and waste the people's time. It is the people's meeting, like you said.
14 years, we've never been sued.
Yeah.
We've never been sued, ever.
Well, when you blast public officials, elected officials in particular, are
If there's something in
included-
particular you want, write, and I'll have our attorney look at it, and we will take it off.
It's immaterial because
Unfortunately, it's all true.
No, it's not all true. A lot of it is maliciously made up. But at the same point, the bottom line is that as a public official, we're basically told from the moment we sit here that we're subject to whatever vilification people would like to heap upon us. It's part of the job. So we just accept it as part of the job. I'm not going to waste an attorney's time or the county's time or my time suing something that the court's going to throw out, because when you choose to run for office and get elected, you immediately make yourself a target for people who want to vilify you. So that's the issue there. I mean, you can say whatever you want, whether it's true or not, and that's freedom of our country, freedom of speech. And my freedom of speech is I have no respect for what you do, but that's immaterial to what we're dealing with. It's benign. So do what you want to do. Keep doing it.
We will.
Keep helping.
Yeah, keep
Okay,
helping.
H3. Planning division.
You're it.
Airport management compatibility.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The subject today is airport land use committee or compatibility plan for the MD airfield. We've had this topic in front of the board a few times, and as we move through the RFP process, Mr. Egan and myself wanted to get in front of you and make sure we know as a body what we want from staff. And from this process, my staff report summarizes the situation and provides three options. The first one being, I would recommend highly against it, and that is that the commission is making substantial, yes, that the commission is making substantial progress towards the completion of the airport land use compatibility plan. And these are findings that would have to be made by the ALUC if we wanted to dispose of property if we were successful in the RFP process. I'm sorry, I should have said that first. And as a reminder, we have a memo from our outside land use attorney that basically said we can go through the RFP process without having this plan, but the disposal of the property, if we were to be successful in the RFP process, would be an action under the code and would require that we have a plan, or as I've outlined in the options, are making substantial progress towards affecting the plan. So, you know, really what it comes down to is the board has a choice. Do we want to be closer to hitting the road running if there's somebody that wants to buy the property, in which case we would need to move forward and hire a consultant. And as a reminder, we're not in a position to do this in-house. We're at kind of a minimum bones staffing level right now. We're trying to make changes and address that. But the reason that we allocated $30,000 in the budget to make this plan and that contemplated significant involvement from our staff, which don't exist right now, basically. And so the difference is roughly $18,000, where the bid came in, $48,000. We had budgeted 30. So if the board wishes, we can move forward, have this consultant start the process and get this plan together. You know, that's one option. The third option would be to wait and see what the RFP brings, and if there is no viable bidder, then we would budget in the next cycle for a plan, because the plan is needed regardless of what we do today. So, so we can wait and see. We can hit it now with the board's direction to find that additional $18,000. And those, number 2 and number 3, are really the options that you have before you.
When I saw this, it kind of reminded deja vu sort of, because I thought we already decided on number 3 about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. We were going to wait and see what the RFP brought. We identified we had a need to do it, but we were going to let somebody bought it, let them cover the cost.
We did have that discussion, and I don't think we had clear direction at that point, because it is indeed the Airport Land Use Commission's responsibility to have this plan in place. And so we were going to move forward with our staff level to figure out exactly what it was going to cost, which is what we've done now, $48,000, and which is more than we had budgeted. So
How much have you expended of that $30,000?
none.
The RFP is due
December 11th.
Yeah,
so,
so-
I mean, if you get bidders, I would be inclined to let them fund whatever needs to be done.
We have to do it, but it would be my recommendation that we wait until after the 11th, because if we don't get proposals that the board feels that we want to accept, then the heat's off as far as getting the plan.
Well, if the bids come in for the property are under $48,000, that's going to be a deal breaker there, because we're not even going to collect enough money to pay for having this study done.
Well, at least it was good to know what the study cost, because you could minus that straight away off the project.
Exactly, that's a great point. And just knowing that if there is a successful bidder, that we're going to have, a time frame, it's going to be 4 to 6 months to get this plan done. So that's just something this is more of a clarification.
We felt like we needed to come back to the board and point that out now rather than after the RFP, because it may result in the delay.
Well, and also to know what we're going to have to pay to get it done.
Right, it factors into your analysis of when you're deciding on bids, for sure.
But isn't it a responsibility of the commission to have this plan?
Yes.
It is, and the commission doesn't have a funding source, so tag, you're it.
I mean, basically, me and Tom sit on the commission, and we did have a discussion earlier, but it's hard for this commission to make decisions without it done.
Exactly, it's impossible. That's why number 1 is
I mean, it needs to be done.
It does. It does.
I mean, not just for this particular thing.
Exactly, but it's a timing issue now for the board, because there's this $18,000 that was unbudgeted, and we may have the prerogative to go fast or slow. It's up to the board.
What I would suggest is if we get bid or proposals that we like and we want to accept in 2 weeks, then we charge forward with the $48,000 plan and get it done and presented. If we get proposals that we don't like, we don't want to accept, then we step back and take some more time trying to find a cheaper way to do it.
And then we can budget for it, and there are some grants that Caltrans has. Unfortunately, they're usually about a year and a half, 2 years out, but if the board doesn't move on disposal of properties, that might be the best way to pay for the plan.
I'd be in favor of going the least expensive way. That seems like it's to wait and do number 3 is on.
How come